On a remote river in West Africa, there's an isolated and mysterious island, a remnant of a lost world. To the local people, this island is a sacred place where the spirits of the dead live again in the forest animals. Tiwai Island is in Sierra Leone in tropical West Africa. It lies in the middle of the Moa River, which flows through the far southeast corner of the country, near the Liberian border. 40 miles upstream from the Atlantic Ocean, the river divides into a mosaic of islands. At 4.5 square miles, Tiwai is the largest and the only one still covered in dense rainforest. It's a surviving fragment of the once widespread Upper Guinea forest. Over 150 kinds of trees and a rich variety of birds and mammals thrive here. But what makes it most exciting is that it supports one of the highest densities of primates in the world. There are over 2,000 individual primates on Tiwai from 11 different species. This is a Campbell's monkey. The Mende call the Diana monkey the messenger, since it's always the first to give warning of danger. All the primates, including the spot-nosed monkey, eat fruit. But as each kind prefers a different level in the canopy and their diets all vary, competition between the species is kept to a minimum. Only a mature forest like that on Tiwai can support such abundance and variety. Forest creatures, but primates in particular, feature repeatedly in Mende culture. The tribe have never lived on Tiwai, but their beliefs play an important part in preserving it. As a sacred place, neighboring tribesmen and foreigners were refused permission to hunt on the island. During their initiation ceremonies in the forest, adolescents are given charms to safeguard them from wild beasts and the human spirits within them. These girls have been circumcised, a practice which can cause more harm than anything lurking in the forest. When the initiates emerge from the bush, they dance to celebrate their entry into womanhood. The Mende call the lizard buzzard the witch bird. They believe all birds of prey harbor evil spirits, and for fear of provoking their anger, do not kill or eat any of them. The buzzard's main food is lizards. This one is especially nutritious as it's full of eggs. For centuries, tribal taboos protected many forest creatures. Of all the animals, chimpanzees are one of the most feared and revered. They are like us in so many ways, the Mende consider killing one tantamount to murder. There are about 15 chimps on Tiwai. They live as a close-knit group, but break up into small parties to look for food. It's well known that chimps use tools, but only the West African race uses a stone and anvil to crack nuts. They carefully select stones for size and weight, and often carry them long distances to a suitable tree root, which serves as an anvil. Between 1 and 2 years old, young chimps start begging for nuts. It's at this age that their mothers begin teaching them how to crack the shells. Nut cracking isn't as simple as it looks. The size and shape of the stone is critical, and positioning the nut at the right angle on the anvil is also important. Mastering the art can take up to 6 years. It'll be a while before these youngsters get the hang of it. Tiwai's chimps have developed their tool-using skills even further. By breaking off a short piece of stick and holding it in their teeth, they can prise out the pieces of nut which their nails can't reach. It's the first time this behavior and truly wild chimps have been filmed. Chimpanzees are so seriously endangered throughout Africa, it could be one of our last chances of studying their behavior. At midday, the forest, usually so noisy, is silenced by the heat. The monkeys retreat to the treetops to catch the maximum breeze. At the height of the dry season, temperatures can reach 40 degrees centigrade. Round the shores of the island, the sandbanks shimmer under the sun. This white-headed plover has just laid her first egg. It must be kept at a constant temperature despite the heat. She goes to the river, moving cautiously to avoid attracting predators. Special feathers on her breast soak up the cooling water. For animals like the spot-necked otter, staying cool at midday is no problem. Several otters have a territory round Tiwai's shores. Each male marks his boundary by renewing his scent at regular sprinting sites. spot-necked otter is reputed to be the fastest of its kind underwater. In the past, its speed helped it to escape crocodiles, but that threat has virtually gone. Nearly all the crocodiles have been killed by the Mende. For such a swift animal, fishing is easy, especially when their prey is a slow-moving species like tilapia. Even an otter can get a fish bone stuck in its throat. Spot-necked otters are still relatively common. The Mende eat them, but it's another local activity which really threatens the otters. Near the end of the dry season, the villagers dam the moa to dig for diamonds. "20 feet below the surface of the riverbed is a layer of gravel which contains the gems. The whole community helps dig to this level, which often takes several days. When the seam has been exposed, the local paramount chief takes his share. The formality's over, it's then a free-for-all. Many people dig for diamonds all along the upper reaches of the moa. They disturb the riverbed to such an extent that the increased silt levels kills fish. This, in turn, threatens all aquatic wildlife. It also leaves the Mende with a reduced food supply, and fish is a major source of protein. When all the gravel has been excavated, it's then carefully washed in the river. This kind of mining is not only harmful, it's often illegal. But as some of the most valuable diamonds in the world are found in Sierra Leone, it's unlikely to stop. Fortunately, every year, nature calls a halt. The rainy season starts in April. Within weeks, the water level rises 15 feet, putting an end to diamond mining for another year. For 4 months, there's little movement to or from Tiwai by man or beast. The moa has become a formidable natural barrier, protecting the island by sealing it off from practically all contact with the outside world. In the wet season, everything rots. Trees which fell during the year are broken down by fungi. And if they don't complete the job, the termites will. The amount of wood removed by each insect is minute, but they exist in numbers that defy the imagination. There's probably over 1 billion termites on Tiwai. They owe their success to their complicated social organization. Most of the workers are foragers, but some have a protective role to play. In response to the footsteps of an approaching pangolin, the soldier termites sound their clicking alarm by drumming their heads. Within minutes, the entire foraging party will have gone to ground. But the long-tailed tree pangolin isn't interested in termites. It's after black tree ants, and their colonies are often over 100 feet up. The ant's nest is protected by hundreds of thousands of workers, all of which can bite. But the pangolin's armor of overlapping scales and exceptionally thick skin helps to protect it. Powerful front limbs and claws rip open the cement-hard nest to expose the soft and defenseless larvae and pupae within. Many fall to the forest floor, but they're often the lucky ones. They escape being eaten, and they're quickly rescued. Workers returning to the colony pick up the embryonic ants lying helplessly 150 feet below, and one by one carry them all the way up home. The workers swarm out to defend their nest. Their enemy isn't immune to the ants' defenses, and after a while, the insects become irritating, and it moves on. The pangolin rarely has time to cause irreparable damage. The ant's nest survives as potential food for the future. Tiwai is one of the few places in West Africa where the forest is left alone to find its own balance. Monkeys feed in the same trees as the pangolin, but on very different food. The forest is so rich, it can accommodate both species. Diana monkeys are especially fond of the fruit of liana, a creeper which festoons the trees. They test each one to see if it's ripe, twisting it as we would an apple. The fruit tastes like a cross between a mango and a guava. The Mende like them too, but since they often grow 100 feet off the ground, only the monkeys can reach them. Fruit discarded by the monkeys seldom goes to waste. The water chevrotain stands 8 inches high and is by far the smallest of the 6 species of antelope which live on Tiwai. Stripes and spots perfectly mimic the dappling of light and shade on the forest floor where it spends most of its quiet life. Antelope are common. Their flesh is good to eat and forms an important part of the Mende's diet. But they are usually hunted at night with lights. During the day, the chevrotain's cryptic coloring makes it impossible to find. But antelope are not the quarry for this man. The Mende are traditionally farmers, not true forest people like the pygmies of Zaire, but rich symbolism, folklore and secrecy surround the art of hunting. Primates are not traditional prey. There is no magic or status in killing one, and as Muslims, the Mende are forbidden to eat monkey flesh. But now, monkey hunting for export abroad has become big business in Sierra Leone. Modern weapons threaten the survival of the primates of Sierra Leone. The dead animal is a Campbell's monkey. It's a relatively common species, is good to eat, and as a crop pest can sustain culling. It could provide villagers with a valuable source of protein, but it wasn't killed for local consumption. This man has been commissioned to shoot 40 monkeys for export to Liberia, where the flesh is regarded as a delicacy and fetches a high price. To preserve the meat, the hunter's wife smokes and dries the carcasses. At present, it is estimated that 300 tons of monkey meat crosses the border to Liberia each month of the dry season. This trade has little effect on the main crop pests like the mangabes and green monkeys. They're shy, secretive, and hard to shoot. It's the bolder, tree-living species, in particular the colobus monkeys, which suffer. And times and customs are changing in Sierra Leone. The Mende are Muslims, but only the older generation still regard monkey meat as forbidden. The religious scruples of the young have been eroded by the 20th century. Trading with Liberia, and now inside Sierra Leone, is proving devastating to the rarer species. If it is not controlled, soon there will be no monkeys left, except perhaps on Tiwai. Scientists estimate that without protection, the red colobus may be extinct in as little as 10 years. The black and white colobus fares a little better. It's given 20 years. The seed pod of the faraway tree is extremely tough, but the kernels inside are packed with protein and oil. The black and white colobus is the only species with teeth and jaws that are strong enough to bite through to them. It also eats more leaves than any of the other primates on Tiwai. To digest this highly unnutritious food, it has developed a specialized stomach. The colobus monkeys live high in the trees and in the depths of the forest, and are no threat to the local farmers. Chimps, on the other hand, spend most of their time on or near the ground and are accomplished crop raiders. This individual devastated the annual crop of this mango tree, planted in the past when farming was allowed on Tiwai. Elsewhere, many chimps have no option. There's so little natural habitat left, they must either steal or starve. Evidence that a chimp has passed by lies strewn all over the ground, but the discarded fruit attracts other inhabitants of the forest. The chameleon is a creature of the canopy, only rarely venturing to the ground. Even though it's perfectly camouflaged and can change color, it's safer up in the branches. At least on Tiwai, there are still trees to provide a sanctuary for chameleons and a playground for monkeys. In other areas, forest creatures are having to flee for their lives. Rainforests all over the world are being turned into farmland. It's no different in Sierra Leone. Just opposite Tiwai, the banks are on fire. Slash-and-burn agriculture has for centuries been a major threat. Now, commercial logging presents an additional menace. The last major stands of lowland rainforest in Sierra Leone, the Gola forests, stretch to the north and east of Tiwai. They're the only other place where rare monkeys survive. They too are disappearing fast. Sierra Leone has lost 97% of its primary forest. The clear-felled land produces crops for 2 years, and during the next 10, when it's left fallow, it can be harvested for medicinal herbs, building materials, firewood and bushmeat. But it leaves no room for forest-dependent species. On Tiwai, they still stand a chance. After long campaigns by scientists and conservationists, and with the cooperation from local paramount chiefs, the island is the first area in Sierra Leone to be designated a game sanctuary. Even major crop pests like mangabees can escape persecution on the island. So far, only hunting is banned. Logging and farming may still be a threat, but at least it's a step in the right direction. The key to the future lies in working a compromise so that common crop pests and timber can be harvested on a sustainable basis. Tiwai is special because of its primates, but it also protects many other species. Until recently, straw-colored fruit bats, which roost during the day in large colonies, were common. The species is migratory, only visiting the island in the wet season when fruit is abundant. Females give birth between December and late February, and mate again from April to June. Copulating upside down has its complications. This female obviously isn't in a receptive mood. A well-aimed nip puts a stop to all further advances. The bat colony suffered when they changed their daytime roost from Tiwai to some trees close to a village across the river. The Mende eat bats. Armed with guns, they wiped out almost the entire population in a couple of days. A few still survive on the island, and with time the colony may recover. Without a ban on hunting, the bats would rapidly disappear, and the primates would soon follow them. The chimps on Tiwai are more precious than they might seem. 10 years ago, there were over 2,000 of these apes in Sierra Leone. Now there are probably only hundreds. The traditional manner of capturing an infant is to shoot its mother. For every captive infant chimp which reaches its final destination, between 5 and 10 mothers and babies will be killed in the process. The trade is illegal, but young chimps are still readily available to anyone who wants to buy one. People will buy anything as a souvenir of Africa, including ivory and the skins of spotted cats, snakes, and crocodiles. All of these are protected by international law. In Sierra Leone, owning a chimp is fashionable, even a status symbol. But at 4 years old, they become unpredictable and sometimes aggressive. The lucky ones are destroyed. The rest face a life of solitary confinement.
In. There. Come on, there.
Those destined for biomedical research face an even worse future. Chimps share 98% of our genes, which is why they're so useful in research into AIDS and other human diseases. They also share our intelligence and the need for affection and mental stimulation. There is only one place chimps truly belong. A female gathers a last handful of nuts before retiring for the night. At dusk, the straw-colored fruit bats leave their roosts to feed in the surrounding forest. As night falls, one of Tiwai's most primitive primates awakes. The potto is a prosimian, a living link between ancestral primates and modern monkeys. Millions of years ago, these early primates dominated the world's forests. When the monkeys and apes evolved, the prosimians lost their control of the trees. Two species survive on Tiwai, but only because they are nocturnal and avoid competing with their more advanced diurnal relatives. But there's still the bats to contend with. Fruit-eating bats are very important for seed dispersal. They chew the fruit, extracting all the juices, then spit out small seeds in dry pellets. Swallowed seeds are excreted after a few hours, usually away from the parent plant. Pottos eat some strange things, the bats taking no chances. However, tree resin, fruit and insects are their favorite food. But they'll eat almost anything they can catch. Palm civets spend the day curled up in a tree hole or a dense clump of leaves. They're well known to the local people. They're rarely seen, but they can be heard all night. Just as there are nocturnal primates to fill a niche left empty by their diurnal relatives, so there are pangolins which only come out at night. Again, there's little competition for prey. The white-bellied tree pangolin eats red tree ants under cover of darkness, while its long-tailed relative concentrates on the black variety during the day. Pangolins give birth to a single baby, which spends the first year of its life riding on its mother's tail. Its grip is vice-like. Since the ground is well over 100 feet below, it can't afford to let go. On the forest floor, a brush-tailed porcupine searches for fruit dislodged from above. The quills are hairs which have evolved into spikes for protection. They're not sharp enough to deter all enemies, and at the first sign of danger, the porcupine retreats, rattling its tail in alarm. The African civet is 3 times the size of the palm civet. It's Tiwai's largest predator, now that leopards have been wiped out by hunters. Civets are best known for the musk they secrete from glands under their tail. Musk has been used in the manufacture of perfume since biblical times. The animal uses it to attract a mate and mark a territory. It's relatively short-sighted. Good vision is unimportant in the dark or in dense undergrowth, but its sense of smell is acute. It's guided through the forest by its nose. It marks its prey with scent from its neck glands. This may disguise the smell of blood and stop scavengers from finding food, which the civet intends to hide and eat later. In the past, Tiwai was farmed. Its beautiful forest is only 40 to 60 years old. Yet it stands among the surrounding cleared land like a relic from some earlier era. Protected by the river, ancient taboos, and more recently by conservationists and the local paramount chiefs, it remains a sanctuary for the spirits of the forest.